Hello and welcome to the CircuitPython weekly meeting for September 30th, 2019. My name is Scott. I go by Tan Newt online, and I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a standalone version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers that are really great to get going with because they're inexpensive and they usually power things that blink and you can interact with, so they're super fun. Um, so this is our meeting that we have every week, where everybody gets a chance to talk about what they're working on, and we get to sync with each other about what's happening within the wider world of CircuitPython. The meeting normally happens, as it is today, at around 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the Adafruit Discord server, which everybody is welcome to join. You can join the server by going to the URL adafru.it/discord. They'll drop you in, say hi in the CircuitPython text channel. We'll be in the voice channel during the week. So yeah, everybody is welcome to join in this meeting. The meeting is recorded, so beware that we are recording both the text that's happening in the CircuitPython text channel and the voice channel as well. We post those on the Adafruit YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Adafruit. And also we have podcast feeds if you're a podcast person. This meeting is in 5 parts. First, we start with community news, which is a high level, like what's going on in the internet verse of CircuitPython. And then we follow that up with a state of CircuitPython and its libraries, which is a kind of objective view using a statistics script to give us an idea of the health of the project, basically like how much activity is happening and how many people are involved in that. And then just got a phone call, but it's a junk call. Okay, so state of CircuitPython is number 2. Number 3 is Hug Reports, which is we do as a round robin where I will start and we go through the list of the folks in the voice chat and read off alphabetically the thank yous that they have for people and the work that they've been doing. If you are in the voice chat but don't want to participate, just let us know you're lurking. If you don't have a microphone or choose not to have your voice recorded, feel free to let us know you're text only, and then I will read it off for you. If you're unable to make the meeting, you're welcome to also put your notes in the note stock, which went out in the CircuitPython text channel. Put your notes in there and I'll read those off as well. And after Hug Reports, we'll do we do status updates, which is also done as a round robin. Same rules apply. And that's a chance for you to talk a couple minutes about what you've been working on and a couple minutes about what you plan on doing this coming week. It's a great way for us to all get on the same page. And then lastly, we have a section called In the Weeds where we talk about any larger discussions that we want to have as a community. This can either be technical or non-technical. Just kind of like anything else that needs to be addressed can happen in the weeds. If you have topics for In the Weeds, drop those in the text channel or drop them directly in the note stock, and we will go down the list there. During the meeting, I'll be taking time codes, which is a way for folks to take a look at our notes after the fact and skip around the video or the audio so that they don't necessarily have to listen to the whole thing. So if I pause between sections or things like that, that's what I'm doing. And speaking of that, let's get going. I'll take a time code and we'll do community news.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, first up, if you have a little bit of time and you want to see a fantastic talk, check out Dan Halbert's, our very own Dan Halbert, talk at the SIPB 50 Physical Computing. You can see some Circuit Python demos, how Dan ended up working with Adafruit, some really neat history about some stuff that Dan worked on, and then some of the things we're working on with CircuitPython. Next up, last night I filmed this little thing with Lady Ada. This is super neat. It's the use CircuitPython with any computer with the FT232H. So once you get it set up, you can just take your CircuitPython code and move it anywhere and use it. And this is using the STM32 F405 as well. So we got the guide and the new feather that shows how all this works together. And she has a stemma demo that goes along with that. So those are all live now. Um, I've been keeping track of the market share because there really isn't any one spot. So I just been doing the post for like 7 or 8 years now. There's now 28 million Raspberry Pis out there. You can see the trajectory on the blog posts that I have that I just keep adding the dates to. And that's one of the reasons that we've been doing a lot of stuff with Blinka, because it's one of the most popular Linuxy computers out there. So anything that's a Raspberry Pi can run Blinka. And if you go to circuitpython.org/Blinka, I think we have like 27 boards or so. Um, and then on circuitpython.org/downloads, we are now up to 79 boards. So we'll probably try to do something interesting once we hit 100. There's a new textbook that came out. There's a bunch of Adafruit stuff in it. This is from people in our community. This is Learning IoT with Python and Raspberry Pi. It is updated for Raspberry Pi 4, which is really good. So if you're an educator or just someone who wants a textbook style resource, this just came out. I have one on order. Should be there soon. Speaking of good interviews and more, Scott a while ago was on the testing code, and now Nicholas is on testing code. Excellent interview with him, improving programming education. And then Nicholas is working on PyperCard, this HyperCard-like language for Moo and for things like PyPortal. And you can see one of the projects he made, the Alchemist Tower. It is really neat. In other news, we contacted the Python Software Foundation and Damien after someone in the MicroPython community noticed that someone was squatting, land grabbing on the MicroPython trademark in China and stopping others from making boards or selling boards. And so we'll see what happens. We'll do some updates. I put some brief notes in our newsletter that's in draft right now. It'll be coming out tomorrow. So if you're on the Python on Hardware newsletter, you'll see some updates. But the goal would be for Adafruit, MicroPython, and Python Software Foundation to work together to make sure people aren't saying they're MicroPython, they're not Python, they're not CircuitPython unless they chat and get permission. So that would be the ideal. October is Open Source Hardware Month. I'm going to be doing a story every day about open source hardware. Look for tweets or things in the chats or on our shows, and let us know what type of things you'd like to see open sourced, or ways for us to all continue to work together in great ways to make this big open source community even bigger. And also just general, like, here's some history. There's not like one spot that has a lot of the open source hardware history, so I thought I would put it up on the blog. And then next week is Ada Lovelace Day, so we'll have some stuff on the Adafruit site, of course, and more. And that is the community news for this week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Phil.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
All right, let's go on to the state of CircuitPython and its libraries. Let me scoot over here. I keep doing shift on the minutes of the time code. Okay, so state of CircuitPython and its libraries is a statistical overview of the health of the project, kind of meant to give us an objective perspective on how things are going. Pretty much overall, things are going really well. We've continued to grow the number of folks that are participating in CircuitPython and also the number of pull requests. So within the last week, we had 49 pull requests merged, which is probably one of our highest weekly pull request merges, which is awesome. We had 14 different authors, some new folks. It are 2BNDY5, I think, is relatively new. But other folks are kind of new folks coming in. So thank you to everybody on that list. We had 9 reviewers, which is also awesome. And we always like to say that reviewing is actually a great way to start, to get started. If you see, somebody proposing a change for the library for a sensor you have, give it a shot, see if it works, and drop a note on the pull request to let us know that you tried it and that it does indeed work. So thank you to all 9 reviewers of the last week. We had 15 closed issues by 6 people and 8 open by 7 people. So again, we're net down on issues, which is awesome. And, we have 6 or 7 people involved in that. So that is more than our just a few folks. So thank you to everybody doing issue stuff. Overall, we're kind of like Lucian is full speed ahead on STM, and Dan and I are heads down on Bluetooth. So Expect to see a new alpha in the coming week or two with some Bluetooth changes and improvements, and along with a lot of improvements on the STM side, thanks to Lucian as well. Library work continues to roll on, always adding more sensors for Adafruit. Katney and folks helping her have been just awesome. And I wanted to just say, as a reminder, Hacktoberfest starts tomorrow as well. So keep that in the back of your mind. For those of you who don't know, Hacktoberfest is an initiative by DigitalOcean, where if you contribute a set number of PRs, I forget what it is it 10? In the month of October, you'll earn. Oh, it's 5. Oh, sweet, perfect. If you do 5 PRs to an open source project over the course of October, and you're one of the first 50,000, I think is what the number is, of folks to do that, they will send you a T-shirt. It does mean they get your email, but I've done it the last couple of years and have not been spammed by them. So I'd encourage everybody to do it. The goal is to get it's down to 4 this year. So 4 PRs and you can get a free T-shirt. I'm wearing my 2018 edition Hacktoberfest thing there. So folks, if you haven't actually done any PRs yet, now's the time to do it. And for those of us who are facilitating a lot of this stuff, let's keep in mind about tagging issues. I think we have to do this, but I assume we have to tag issues as Hacktoberfest, and then they'll get surfaced kind of on the Hacktoberfest kind of portal. So it's a great way to bring new folks into the project. So I've been meaning to look at the Adabot checks for the libraries and figure out which things can be handled by other folks to use via PRs, and those will be really good issues for things to do that. So, all right, that's kind of where we're at overall. On the core side, we had 19 pull requests merged by 4 authors. Thank you to all 4 authors. We had 4 reviewers as well, so thank you to those folks as well. And we had 10 open pull requests. They're listed here in the docs. A couple of them are open 0 days, so that's good. Those are in the docs or in the notes if you want to check that out. Issues-wise, we had 0 closed issues by 0 people, and 1 open by 1 person. So very, very low issue traffic on the CircuitPython side. We have 184 total open issues and the notes have a link to where those are. 7 active milestones. Not much change from last week. 5 issues not assigned a milestone, but yeah, not too bad. Download stats wise, we've had another week under our belt for both 4.10 and 5.0 Alpha 4. 4.10 has a total of 10,417 downloads, while Alpha 4 has 1,902. If you want to see a breakdown by language, those are available in the notes doc as well, but I will not cover that here. So let's kick it over to Katney for library state.
Thanks, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick regarding Hacktoberfest, if you are new to Git and GitHub and you want to contribute, we do have a guide. And then if you get confused by anything in the guide, A, let me know, because obviously we want it to be as clear as possible, but B, just ping us in the CircuitPython channel, and when we get a chance, someone will definitely help you. We want you to contribute, and we want to do whatever it takes to make sure that you can. So feel free to let any of us know that you are running into issues and that you're interested in figuring out how to use Git and GitHub, and we will be able to help you.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, this week we had 30 pull requests merged, which is excellent. That's a bit high, and that's great. I had 10 authors. 2 BNDY 5 is one of our new ones. So thank you for being a new contributor to us. And we had 8 reviewers. And as Scott said, reviewing is a super easy way to get started. You don't even have to have the sensor for the library. You can take a look at the code and see if anything jumps out at you as not looking right, and just leave a note, say you didn't test it, but that you saw something or that it looks good to you or whatever, because that still definitely helps us out. We currently have 35 open pull requests. The list of them is in the notes doc. I think we're actually down a bit, which is good, but we do have a lot of stale pull requests. So we are trying to work into making sure that we're keeping up with this a little bit better. If you put in a pull request and you haven't received a response within 24 hours, feel free to ping one of us. With libraries, you can ping me. With CircuitPython, you can ping Scott or Dan. 24 hours, not including weekends. And that's the turnaround time we want to try and do. So definitely don't feel bad about letting us know that something's been sitting open for a month and we haven't done anything with it. So we had 15 closed issues by 6 people and 7 opened by 6 people. So we're net down. We're at 140 open issues. There's a link to a page that contains those in the notes doc. And updated libraries, we had a bunch. Those are also in the notes document. I will not read those off because it is a fairly lengthy list. And that's where we're at with the libraries.
Awesome. Thank you, Kattni. Okay, let's move on from State of CircuitPython. Yeah, lots of updated stuff. Into Hug Reports. Hug Reports is a chance for us to just say thank you to folks for the work that they've been doing over the last week, or since we had an opportunity to thank them. We do this as a round robin, so I will start and then we'll go through the list of folks in the voice channel in alphabetical order. So we also will insert folks who are not here in alphabetical order as well. So check the note stock if you want to get an idea of who's when, but I'll call on you otherwise. If you're lurking, you just want to listen in, you don't want to speak up, that's totally cool. Just let us know we're lurking and we'll skip over you. I think most of you have, but just for those of you who may have missed that, let us know if you're lurking. If you don't want to speak, you can say your text only and dump it in the CircuitPython text channel and I'll read it off, or you put it in the notes and I will read it off as well. And yeah, take just a couple minutes and give people the credit where credit is due. So I will start after I take a time code and say, first and foremost, I wanted to thank Signalmeister for a PR improving our example library code. This just was adding the address example that commented out to one of the examples, like, oh, what if you change the address? How do you pass that into the library? We appreciate that. To Bandy5, to BNDY5, should figure out how to say that. Also added the ability to change the I2C address to the LSM9DS1 library, so thanks to them for that. Shout out to Hierophect Lucian for lots of small PRs on the STM32 side. Been making lots of progress with I2C and SPI, and really happy to see those turning around and kind of like starting to work more in parallel, so that's been really awesome. And then lastly, shout out to Anecdata for closing an old issue this morning that they weren't able to reproduce, but then they managed to reproduce it and reopened it. That's totally fine. The main thing is that it's really good just to be going back to old PRs and making sure that they still exist or still a problem or things like that. It's just really helpful because, even though the issue has been open a while, it's nice that it's not really stale because somebody's, still poking at it, still making sure that it's a old issue. So that's really helpful. So thanks to all those folks. Let's circle around and go to Brent.
Hello. My Hug reports this week are for Anecdata and Doc Molo for continued ESP32 work, specifically with Nina firmware, and Jerry for quick testing of libraries.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Brent. And thanks, Kattni, for the reminder that Anecdata is lurking, but also does have notes or hugs in the notes. So I will skip back and read those off. Anecdata says, hug report to Doc Malo for digging into the heavy lifting, Nina side for the ESP32 SPI work, and Brent Roof for the ongoing support and help with the ESP32 SPI efforts. And I forgot to take a time code. Next up is Carter, who's missing the meeting as well. Carter says, hug report to Lady Ada for writing the Windows and Mac sections of the FT232H guide, and also finding and fixing a bug in the Blinka library. Also, thank you to Summersoft and Deshipu for helping figure out an enigmatic Sphinx error related to the incorrect use of const. So thanks to all those folks. And let's go to C. Grover.
Well, this week I want to give a special thanks to Sedacious, who first encouraged me to design a custom CircuitPython board, and for his ability to patiently feed me just the information I need to learn about it at a digestible rate, which is a real skill given my learning capabilities. Anyway, and a group hug to the team and community. As I dig deeper into adapting that custom board, I'm gaining a real appreciation for, and I'm really impressed and humbled by the amount of expert work that the team and community has done to build and maintain and advance CircuitPython.
Awesome. Thank you so much, C. Grover. Okay, Dan.
Okay, thanks to Scott for, I had some questions about, I'm doing some code refactoring on the file system stuff, CircuitPython. So I talked to Scott on Friday, and then it turned into another like hour and a half conversation about BLE, which is good for both of us. So that's my hugs for this week.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Okay. Dave Brichetti is text only for Hug Reports and says Hug Report to Mike Barella for merging my tilting arpeggios example program from last week, and Katney for the continued encouragement. So thanks to those folks from Dave. Deshipu is also lurking but has a group hug for everybody. Don K is lurking, and now we're at Higher Effect.
Just my usual thank you to Lydietta and Scott for their help in submitting and checking over all the new STM32 code. And a thank you to Sumsoft for helping out on this weekend on some Flash issues. I appreciate your support.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Jason P is lurking, so we'll go to Jerry. Should I read Jerry off?
Oh, I'm just having trouble.
Okay, you got it.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, well, it's just, thanks to Anecdata and Doc Moeller for all the work on the ESP32 SPI. Looking forward to playing with it more, and a group hug to everybody. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Okay, Katney.
Hello. So I have a hug report for Dave Brichetti for submitting a new example to the Circuit Playground Express repo. It's nice to have more stuff than just the basics, and so we created an advanced examples folder, and it has been filling up, which is excellent. I want to thank Dan for helping me with my Circuit Playground Bluefruit Bluetooth example code. The API is currently in flux, so I wanted to make sure that all of my code was as simple as possible, but still contained everything that it needed. And so he checked out all of my code, and it looked good. So thank you for that. To Dan and Scott for an excellent BLE discussion. It was them talking about the API and where they want to go with it and that sort of thing. And it was good to sit in on that. On a personal note, thank you to Brian for putting up with us moving early, and to Mark and Jen for helping us move into our new house. And finally, a hug report to community moderators and the community. I was offline completely Friday through Sunday, and everything continued to run smoothly as usual. So thank you to everyone involved for making this such an amazing community.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks, Katney. Kinger North is lurking, so we'll go to Crayola.
Just a group hug from me. I missed everybody. It's nice to be back. I'm hoping to be able to stay around and attend more of these in the future.
Awesome. We look forward to it too. Thanks. All right. Lady Ada was dropped in earlier and said hugs to Carter for the epic FT 232H work. That's like a hard part number to say. Lady Ada says it's much appreciated and unlocks some neat use cases. And let's go to Maker Melissa.
Hi. Okay, just wanted to give a hug report to Sedacious for pushing a release that I missed, and a hug report to Lady Ada for thorough guide reviews, and a group hug.
All right. And Mike B. Are you lurking? Okay. All right, Mike's lurking. And Toll is unable to make the meeting due to dad taxi constraints, but says general group hug to everybody. Summersoft says general or group hug to everyone as well, and Tammy makes things also says group hug to. So thank you to everybody for hug reports. That is the conclusion of it. Now let's talk about status updates. Status updates is a chance for us to all give a brief overview of what we're working on. It's a great way to just kind of know and have a feeling for who's doing what. And it's also good if if somebody's doing something similar to what you've done before, giving tips and tricks like pointers to a relevant learn guide or a piece of code that they may want to take a look at is super, super handy. So we do that sort of thing. We try to avoid doing long-term or like long-form discussion. So if you have topics that are kind of like, here's this big question that I want to debate or want to ask, that can happen during the next section, which is in the weeds. So if you have those topics, please post them in the text channel or in the notes. There are none right now, but we always manage to find some usually. So take a look and think about that. And if something comes up, put it in there. All right, let me kick us off on status updates. Last week, I was trying to wrap up the kind of like edit cycle of load a file off a Bluetooth device over Bluetooth, edit it on the tablet or phone, and then push the changes back to CircuitPython. I got that working. You can check out show and tell last week. I think in general, I have it kind of like as an insert of like delete this many and then insert this many characters at the spot. In general, that works, but I was thinking more that like if you're dragging a line and moving it around, you will actually need like a bit more data there to minimize the amount of like file changes you have to do under the hood. So we'll probably do some more work on that, but for now, it kind of like is enough of a proof of concept that I've left that for the time being. And I switched to working on the BLE library and the _BLEIO internal library or internal module it's based on. Because now that the workflow's roughed out, it's a little bit different on how Bluetooth will work because potentially you have actually two things connected to a device at once. And that could kind of change the way that you interact with it. So I've been playing around with that and kind of like shuffling things a bit around to be more uniform, regardless of how you've connected. And so I'm playing around with that and doing a lot of example work, and then hope to get by the end of the week PRs both for all of the BLEIO changes internally, but also the BLE library as well, to get that kind of settled out so that we can start teaching people how to use that. So that is my number one priority. Once I do that, then I can circle back to actually getting the workflow kind of tweaked how I want it and actually getting the app fleshed out a bit more too. So I also got PyCascades proposals in. It's a conference. Their call for presentations ends tomorrow. So I knocked out 3 different proposals. I think one is the proposal I got rejected last year, and then the other 2 are kind of more interesting and more likely, I think, as well. So we'll see what they think. Should be here in the next few months about that. And then lastly, we have a hardware happy hour here in Seattle where people get together and do demos. And I want to demo Glider there. So I've got to do a bit more Glider work before that happens, so that I can actually have a circuit playground on me and just like let people at least basically do the demo I did in show and tell, where you can just tap a number and change it and the color changes sort of thing. So we'll do a little bit of Glider work at least this week just to make that happen. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And let's go to, well, let me see if Anecdata has notes. Circle back. Nope. So we'll go to Brent.
Hello. This past week, I wrote a learn guide on updating the firmware on the ESP32, provided with Adafruit boards, which are airlift boards. So if you have an ESP32 and it's running Arduino code or MicroPython code, this guide isn't for you. But if you have an ESP32 that's running our Wi-Fi coprocessor code, this guide is for you. And people like Anecdata and DocMalo have been doing a lot of work within the Nina firmware core, and we flash the firmware at the factory. So if you want to receive their work that they're working on, you'll need to update it. And the process isn't difficult, and I've tried to make it easier. It's mostly set up. Thanks, Mike. And then this Friday, the IoT Monthly comes out. It has some CircuitPython news in it as well. And it's only sent out once a month and spam free. And then also I just started working on including a user-provided certificate into the Nina firmware that runs on the ESP32s that I was mentioning before, and as well as a PSK key. And hopefully this will allow us to do connections to hosts that require CA certificates. So things like AWS IoT is the main one. And then some other websites, or if you want your own web server to connect with your CircuitPython project. And it's a little bit jarring because it's like free RTOS, and I really haven't touched that much. But the ESP IDF has exposed a lot of stuff, and I'm just getting my head around it right now. And hopefully I'll have something tangible in a few days.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great, Brent. All the IoT stuff was really exciting. Okay, let's go to C. Grover.
Well, so I've been testing that custom string car M0 Express board and installed the first two major tracing bodges. That's always fun. I'm designing the next version of the board concurrent with my testing, though, which is a bit like changing oil in the car while it's moving. I'm keeping track of changes, though. The end objective is to keep the PCB feather-sized, although it's not electrically compatible with the feather. It's also a challenge not to continually add functionality beyond the requirements. So, however, a Stemma QT display and sensor port managed to appear out of nowhere. Anyway, the remainder of this week I'll dedicate to nailing down the CircuitPython definition for the custom board. Also had to add a definition for a flash memory chip that wasn't previously used. So it's been a great learning experience to see and to begin to understand that comprehensive approach that's taken place under the covers of CircuitPython and how different boards are adapted. So I hope to have mine in that menagerie pretty soon.
Awesome.
And it's pretty exciting to learn about it, but it's a little convoluted when you're first starting out. So I'll figure it out.
Yep.
Anyway, on the music side of things, that's been holding me back from CircuitPython work, but, in a good way. 11 of the 12 tracks from my solo CD are licensed and uploaded to the manufacturer along with the final cover graphics. But what's interesting is the 12th track is still in progress because I'm remotely collaborating with a Discord friend that I met a few years ago to add their vocals to it. I'm pretty jazzed about how that track's going to turn out. But like most of my maker projects, the final tweaks on the CD just before release take a lot more time than I anticipated. Although, through experience, I should have known better.
Awesome. Well, thank you, C. Grover. Good luck on that final track. Okay. And I think you'll be at least 80, if not in the 80s, for a number of boards as well.
I'd love to be number 80, but we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, it sounds like you're well on your way, for sure. Okay, let's go to Dan.
Okay, so a simple thing is that the Windows drivers package for Windows 7 and 8 was out of date, so I updated that, and that's undergoing testing right now. If anybody has a use for that, let me know, and I'll pass you a test version. I'm still working on refactoring the file system and file I/O code in CircuitPython so I can add a different kind of file system to do bonding persistence for BLE. And then over the weekend, I was pretty much out of circulation because I went back to MIT for, which is just a few miles away from me, for it's not that far, for the Student Information Processing Board, the SIPI reunion. SIPI is this, it was its 50th anniversary, and I started being there like 45 years ago. It's a service organization that when I joined, it gave out time on to do punch card computing and on the Multics time sharing system. And as those things aged out, it started running various student computer systems at MIT and writing software for those things. And even now, that's being replaced. That's mostly replaced with personal computers now, but there's still plenty of work to do to help people. And so it's been a significant organization for a long time. There are a bunch of videos. I was on a panel and gave a talk in that organization. You can, as Phil mentioned, you can watch the video if you want. There's some links there. And it also, a lot of SIPI people have figured prominently in various important computer science stuff or very outre computer science stuff, like find Keith Winstein's talk about when DVD stuff was cracked and how he put it on a tie and some other things like that. It's a really entertaining talk. All right. And I'm going to continue working on file system refactoring during the next week. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. All right, let's go to Dave Brachetti.
Hello, everybody. Let me just drag a picture to here. So if you're looking in the notes, you see a picture of an audio recording of a program running on CPX that just plays tones. And you can see a couple of things about it. One is the volume is uneven across the range of frequencies. And the other is there is between the play tones. And I think it's because the waveform is generated prior to playing each tone. And so I'm looking at ways of evening out the volume across frequencies and also playing the tones a little faster, perhaps by pre-generating the waveforms across the chromatic scale over several octaves so that we can have continuous sound rather than those pauses between the sounds as you see there. So I'm just delving into the code. I've got no idea what I'm doing. Am I on the right track with this, you think?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, that's all from me.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, and I don't know why the volume is so different. But then again, I think
there's a range where the CPX kind of resonates. I don't know if anybody else has noticed it. It makes a hideous sound. The whole machine resonates at certain frequencies, and so
yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's consistent across all CPXs or if it varies by by the individual piece of hardware.
Right. Well, if you're curious about that, we can always get you more.
Okay, that would be good.
Yeah, reach out and we could get you a few more for sure.
Great. And so I'll start doing this maybe in an application in an example program, and then if it turns out to be useful to others, I think it's probably appropriate to integrate it into the library somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, sounds interesting. Okay, thanks, Dave. Let's go to Deshipu. Did you want to say anything? Maybe not. The notes say no progress, so let's keep going. All right, Don K is lurking. Oh. Mic troubles, sounds like, or seems like.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this past week, I can't remember if we were talking about the F405 last week, but we should, I guess, because we got F405 support in, which means that we support the Pi board, and feasibly a whole bunch of other boards that use the F405, but the most exciting one is the upcoming Feather F405. which is the new Adafruit board with the S405 on it. Which I just got in and I couldn't use until today because it's got USB 3. So if you want to use it, make sure you get that cable in advance. All the I2C and peripheral kind of remapping work, so it'll be easier to add new peripherals and a little bit cleaner. And we should be getting SPI done today, which will open up lots of things, such as SPI Flash SPI, which is 4 spies bonded together with a queue. How fast?
Awesome. Thank you, Hierophect. Excited to see that going. I wonder if QSpy should be later, but we'll see.
Can be. I just wanted to make the bond joke.
Well, you nailed it. All right. Okay, Jason P is lurking. Let's go to Jerry. I can't hear you, Jerry. Is that just me? I could see you go green, so it could be. Okay.
Try one more.
There you go.
All right. We got a lot of devices here. See if one of them works. So I played around with the iOS 13, and that actually works pretty nicely after a few false starts. But was able to copy some files. But then I realized, boy, it really would be nice to be able to use the REPL from iOS. So I don't know if that's anywhere in the realm of possibility. If anyone has any ideas.
Is that to both type to it and read the serial output?
Yeah, just to be able to, interact with it directly, so you could, run a script from the REPL or do things like that, rather than only basically if you're doing cutting and pasting stuff, unless you're copying code.py over there, there's not much else you can do.
Right.
So if you could actually just have an interactive terminal, which I just don't know if there's any programs that support that on iOS yet. But
the NRF Connect,
I couldn't find any.
NRF Connect,
but it's still nice to be able to get to the board and read files off of them and write to them with it.
Right.
I came across a minor little thing in
weird.
Apparently.
So Jerry's having some mic troubles, it seems.
Yeah, obviously.
Now I can hear you again.
That's okay. I don't know where I cut off, but if I'll drop it there. It's
all right. Well, I'll read the. I think you did the first part. I'll read the 3 other bullet points.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Fixed minor CP5X incompatibility in the PyPortal library. Having fun testing new things and looking forward to Glider and continued BLE evolution. Yeah, I'm excited to get Glider into the hands of more folks. I think the approach is going to be using the Test Flight app. So we should actually be able to get it out pretty quickly, I think, to folks for testing. So I want to get there. I got to get the library kind of squared away first. So thanks, Jerry. Okay, let's go to Kattni.
Hello. All right, I have a boatload of notes. So last week started on the Circuit Playground Adafruit Bluetooth examples. The code is done for the color picker and the data plotting examples. It's submitted to the CircuitPython BLE library repo to ensure that it remains updated as the API continues to update. Guide pages are started for both the color picker and the plotter demo. And the USB keyboard demo we were talking about is on hold because the code isn't ready. Added a downloads page to the Monster Mask guide that was missed when the guide was created. So that meant creating a fritzing object for it and getting all the data sheets and that sort of thing available. So including the schematics and the fab print. So if those are pieces of information that you were looking for, they are now available. Updated the color picker page on the Getting Started with CircuitPython and BLE guide. did not work with the current API, so that's been updated, and it's using the same code as the Circuit Playground Bluefruit examples. So that should make it easier to make sure that that continues to update, because again, it's in the same repo. So we don't have to keep finding more pieces of code. And at the end of last week, I moved into my new house. This week, today it was Library Monday. Noticing the LSM 9DS1 PR, I need to look at it and see if it is applicable to the LSM 9DS0, which is ostensibly identical. And if it is, suggest on that PR that they submit it to the other repo as well. And then I want to go through all of the library issues, and I could use some help on this if anyone is interested. Identify ones that can be labeled for Hacktoberfest as good issues to start with. So that's going to take a little bit of time, but I think it's important. So I'm going to go through and do that. I know we still have some stuff that has Hacktoberfest labels on it from before, but we have a whole host of new issues. And so I want to go through those and make sure that those are available to anybody who wants to do that. I am going to this week test the FT532H guide in VMware, and see if and when it breaks, because if it doesn't, that would be super ideal for a lot of people to be able to do testing on their computer with other boards in the CircuitPython libraries and so on. So that's my plan there. It's pretty likely to barf, but we're going to give it a try anyway. I'm seeing that Summersoft is going to make some magic happen possibly. So I will come back to that in a second. So let's see. I need to finish the Circuit Playground Bluefruit guide pages, which involves getting images or videos or GIFs for the guide of the actual application, like on the phone, because we're doing things with your mobile phone and the Circuit Playground Bluefruit. So to be sure that you know what it is you're looking for, we want to show it actually happening versus just screenshots or pictures, which don't quite convey the whole deal. And then I need to finish the copy on those pages. The next thing up is a Stemma speaker guide. We now have a speaker that has a Stemma connector on it, and we have Stemma to alligator clip cables, so you can hook it up to say your Circuit Playground Express or your Circuit Playground Bluefruit, and all the existing audio code works with it. There shouldn't be any changes needed, so that's excellent. And it's going to be a quick guide with I have to do the first-thing object for it, and showing how to connect it, and then we're going to link to existing audio pages both for CircuitPython and for Make Code. So we're not like redoing a bunch of stuff. It's just going to be linked. So the information will be there, but we don't have to redo it all. So I need to update the original Trellis guide to have Linux usage for, like we were doing with the Raspberry Pi single board computer using Blinka. Need to update that page because we missed it. There's actually a bunch that we missed, which I knew about, but we kind of we stopped doing that for a while. So there's still a spreadsheet with all the information in it on what's been done and what hasn't. And later this week, once the Stemma guide is done, I'm actually going to go back through that spreadsheet, update it all, so that way we'll have a better visual on what we have done and what we don't, so we can try and plan to get the rest of those in. Because the plan is, I mean, everything's up on PyPI already, but we didn't update all the guides with how to use it on a Raspberry Pi with wiring diagrams and so on and so forth. So that's later this week. And then there's a few guides I need to deprecate and point to new guides because we have new and better ones. And then 2 fritzing objects, 2.9-inch e-ink breakout, and the TFT Gizmo, which is a Circuit Playground add-on to be able to add a display, 2 Stemma connectors and a speaker. And what Summersoft said is that we can possibly add something to Adabot that if there's a good first issue label, we'll add Hacktoberfest to it. So that would actually be handy. I will talk to you about that later. And Dave, to answer your question, yes, VMware Fusion. And that's what I've got.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katney. All right, King of North's lurking, so let's go to Crayola.
So last weekend, I was going through the hardware list, and with Katney, we found some bugs in the setup.py files, and we fixed those. So I submitted the PRs for those. I think you approved all of those, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
And then this week, I'm hoping to jump right back into the pixel buff stuff, which includes testing it on a bunch of hardware, because that's something I haven't done yet. I want to see what it does to memory usage, especially when using the Adafruit DotStar and NeoPixel, as well as I'm going to look and see if it's possible to change it to use subclassing so that it uses less memory and is easier to use, if possible. And really looking forward to actually getting that into people's hands. So that's what I'm planning to work on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And if you need examples for subclassing, take a look at DisplayAO's tile grid and group. You have to play this weird. Okay. You have to play this weird trick on the native side to make sure that you're accessing your struct and not like the struct for the instance, the object instance. But it's not too bad.
Could you repeat one of those class names again?
Tile grid or group in DisplayAO.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what status updates is all about. Okay, let's go to Maker Melissa.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so last week I finished updating the SSD 1306 guides, which included, I forgot to add this to my thing, included porting several the Python applications for it from an old format to working with the current Python on the Linux. And I wrote a CircuitPython example for the TFT gizmo. I wrote an Arduino example for the TFT gizmo, but I'm having some issues with the new Circuit Playground Bluetooth or Bluefruit tests. And right now, that's kind of the biggest challenge, is because it's new, and I don't know if there had been any tests actually run on that. I started working on a TFT gizmo guide, and I updated the CircuitPython.org website with some better photos and some new boards. This week I'm going to thanks. This week I'm going to finish up getting tests to pass for the Arduino TFT gizmo. I need to talk to TAC about that, and I need to finish up the TFT gizmo guide. And I'm going to start, after that, I'll start an RGB display for Linux guide. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Melissa.
Thanks.
All right. Entol is missing the meeting, but I'll read it off. Entol writes, last week was Pi Week! Exclamation point. I was able to cobble something together using PiperCard. I wanted to create a game with a certain mysterious mood and atmosphere, much like how the old game Myst managed this with HyperCard. My entry is here, which is... somebody's going to post it. piweek.org/e/myst. Check that out. Spelled MISSED. Somebody asked about approaches to testing. I'm writing a post about general Python testing for my personal blog. Should be out by the end of the week. And a lack of an update --all option for CircuitPython. Thanks for the suggestion. Melissa is gnawing away at me, especially since it'd be trivial to implement. So I think I'll quickly create a PR, probably tomorrow for it. So thanks, Entol. And now Summersoft is text only as well. Summersoft says last week for CircuitPython build tools update allowed multiple package prefix name entries instead of just one, and iterate over files to bundle using pathlib instead of os.walk, which definitely cleaned things up. Community library bundle updated the Travis YAML call to the bundle script using multiple prefix names, so package libraries are now bundled, which is cool. Core docs module support matrix added processing of modules dependent on other modules. Added processing of modules included as CircuitPy default build and CircuitPy minimal build, and it improves the accuracy of available modules listed for each board. Continued to fight with libraries.json, AWS, and artifact path issues, and decided to undual boot my laptop Included too much in my original backup, which wrecked fresh installs, so doing multiple installs was fun. I assume that's the right tone. This week, more libraries .json/AWS wrangling. I think I'm down to the last fix, but I'll probably get a personal S3 bucket to test with before pushing any more PRs. Mental to-do list is empty after that, so I'll be on the hunt/open to suggestions. So thank you, Summersoft. All right, and last but not least, we have notes from Tammy Makes Things. Tammy says, logging some potential enhancements to Entol's Circup tool and working on those. Working on their Desert Pi CircuitPython talk, which is being rescheduled to November or December. So thanks for the update, Tammy. And thank you, everybody, for status updates. Let's move on to In the Weeds. Let's just give folks 10 or 20 seconds to speak up if they have anything. In the Weeds is a chance for us to just chit chat about whatever is important. I don't think there's anything specific. So, and I've procrastinated long enough that somebody could speak up. So, none today. Let's wrap up. This has been the CircuitPython weekly community meeting for September 30th, 2019. Everybody is welcome to join this. It happens every week, normally at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, on the Adafruit Discord server, which you can join via the short link adafru.it/discord. That will link you to our Discord GG link to get you in the server. Drop into the CircuitPython text channel, say hi. Drop into the voice channel during the meeting on Mondays at 11 to do voice chats with us. That would be super cool. And listen to the meeting live. So all are welcome. There are a few times where we don't do it on Mondays because there's usually if there's a US holiday, we'll usually switch it. So if you're interested in getting pinged for updates on the meeting, ask us to add you to the CircuitPythonistas role on Discord, and then you'll get you'll see mentions for like, hey, meetings tomorrow, here's a note sock, that sort of thing. So let us know if you want to be a part of that. This meeting was recorded, so both audio and video of the window for the text chat is recorded, and it will go on the Adafruit YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Adafruit. It goes into the newsletter as well, so a link to that is in the newsletter. You can join the newsletter, which goes out every week on Tuesday mornings with all the news that's fit to print about Python and CircuitPython and MicroPython by going to adafruitdaily.com. That will get you into there. So go to adafruit.com, select Python for microcontrollers, and let us know. Or then you'll get all the latest updates. And I think that's it. I think it's a normal schedule next week. So everybody have a great week and start to Hacktoberfest. And thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.